There are reports coming out of Syria that Syrian rebels have attacked a pro-government television station in the town of Drusha, about 20 kilometers south of the capital of Damascus. So far, it has been reported that 7 employees have been killed in the attack. Al-Ikhbariya is a privately owned television station in Syria, but it does strongly support the government. Now, the rebels have denied the accusation that they were the ones who, in fact, attacked the media outlet. However, the activists who support the rebels have said that this was actually an attack carried out by elite Syrian troops who have defected from the government, which doesn't even sound very plausible to me. Now, one man during this attack was actually abducted by the Syrian rebels. This is how it was reported according to the CBC. Several other staff members of the TV station were wounded in the attack, which happened just before 4 a.m., an employee said. He added that the gunman kidnapped him along with several station guards. He was released, but the guards were not. The employee, who did not give his name for fear of retribution, said the gunman drove him about 200 meters away and then he heard an explosion from the station. I was terrified when they blindfolded me and took me away, the man said by telephone. I hope this incident does show to many people exactly what the rebels are about and what they're actually doing. This is a blatant and deliberate attack upon journalists, people who are trying to get information out. We in the West are only fed one angle, and that is the angle of the pro-rebels that have now been proven are being backed by NATO, have been funded by NATO, and are actually being trained inside and controlled by both the CIA and MI6. This I showed in previous videos. Now, this does expose the hypocrisy of people like Anderson Cooper from CNN and senators like John McCain and Lieberman, who have been saying that the rebels are virtuous people who are standing up for freedom and the right to free speech. However, I wonder if Mr. Anderson Cooper would be so happy with the fact that the Syrian rebels are now murdering journalists. After all, he's supposed to be one. Now, there have been diplomatic calls to end the violence between the rebels and the Syrian government. However, one of the major, who's considered to be a major power broker in the situation is Russia, and Russia thus far has refused to cooperate in such a manner. However, they have said that they would be willing to, take part in talks, but are refusing any kind of military intervention in Syria, mainly because they do know the source of this and that it is coming from the U.S. and NATO, and then Russia, in return, is defending its own interests in Syria, being that Syria is not a puppet of NATO or the United States at this time. It will if this battle does continue. The government will probably be toppled if it does continue to go on, because it's very likely that the interference by NATO and the U.S. will not be exposed in the mainstream media for obvious reasons. Now, activists say more than 14,000 have been killed. Primarily, this is responsible due to the U.S. and NATO having declared an unofficial war against the country and its politics, and using all of its neighbors to supply weapons, armament, training, even to sneak weapons into the so-called rebels, and even have Saudi Arabia begin paying people to rebel against the government.